Okay, good morning. So I thought I would go over a defending tutorial post-patch with controls on the screen so you know exactly what I'm pressing, how to defend an FC26, and what's been changed most notably in defending. You can see, look here, I'm not even pressing the controller and the game is already defending for me automatically. Now with the jockey, I feel like I feel like you can't be like as aggressive as you used to be, but with the jockeying, I think the best way of explaining it is they're slightly more reactive. I wouldn't say they're faster. I would say they're slightly more reactive. So if you're thinking you could jockey how you maybe would have done last year, you can't do it. And you can see, for example, as I explained to you, I don't really use R1 dribbling. I think it's going to affect more casual players. I mean, like you can still fidget spin with left analogs. What people not understanding is left stick dribbling was the issue. It wasn't actually R1 dribbling. That's what I was talking about. This whole thing that our people even talk about nothing the wrong thing. But anyway, in terms of defending, I still think the two most important playstyles, if you're asking me, are both the jockey playstyle, and I would say probably the. I think the intercept playstyle is probably. I don't think it's the same level as jockey, but I think it's the second best one. I still think the jockey playstyle is at the forefront. And for example, any player, like you can see, I'm evolving on it. You can see my defender. This is on my second account. Actually, the first evolution I've done on my second account this year. Not literally had no time. But you can see I got Zabanai and I've got Robinson. So Robinson doesn't get the jockey. He's got the jockey playstyle already. So all the players that I'm getting, if that means that, for example, I'm getting, let's say, a defender that's got, I don't know, -4 sprint speed, I don't mind. And you can see, for example, Pina, when she's inside the box, or any other player, when you get the ball into this region, you can still use the R1 control sprint. So let's say, for example, that was a bad pass. But if you're in that region, you can still use it. But look here, look, I'm going to show you with Van der Ven. I'm going to put the jockey playstyle on him today. I think the evolution is expiring today. But you can see, look, you can still defend the same way. People are saying defending has changed, no. But it's just a bit more reactive. And I think with that jockey playstyle, it depends on how you defend. If you're using the L2, so if you're using L2 to defend and R2, you guys know I don't use that. I just use purely L2 and R2. And like you're controlling a gas pedal in your car, I use my left analog stick to control the speed of the movement. So that's how I defend with the L2 and R2 button, and I use my left analog stick to control like a gas pedal on the car. That's why my defending range is between 0 and 100%. Whereas using the L2 button and then the running jockey, you're basically stuck with a 40%, for example, for the jockey, and then you basically go into like 100%. Technically, there's some variables allowed depending on how you move your left analog stick, but that's why I feel like for most people who use that method, I would say you probably have the greater difference. I tried a bit with those controls, but it's quite hard for me to defend that way because naturally I don't defend that way. But it appears that people who naturally have, and you can see like here R1, you can still use R1 control sprint. It's not like you can't use it, but you can still use it there and get those near post goals. But yeah, I would say for anyone that's using L2 and then L2 R2 to defend, I think you'll notice a much bigger difference because the transitions will be smoother, is what I would say. The transitions will be smoother when you're defending. We'll go over the pitch notes at halftime. I just want to talk about a few other things as well. So I would say it's still, the meta is still using the defender. Look, the benefit is kickoff is still there. It's been reduced. I think the benefit of this jockey, which is going to be an indirect promoting kind of part of the, I think what people don't understand is when I talk about a patch, I don't talk about it now. I talk about it, what's going to happen in a month's time, in 2 months' time. And every year when the patch comes out, I normally predict in the correct way. We can all get it wrong, and I think I've got it right. I don't think I've got it wrong that often. Maybe once or twice out of like 100 times I've made a prediction. And that's why I was worried, because I think you're seeing it more and more now. Once the patch has been stabilized and people who use, don't forget, R1 dribbling doesn't affect me. It affects the casual players more. But people who weren't good at, who are using R1 dribbling to get past, you're now going to see a lot more first time through balls, a lot more. I'm seeing a lot more in the elite division, a lot more fidget spinning. I would much rather defend against R1 dribbling than fidget spinning. Fidget spinning is just a test of determination and how long is it going to take before you don't get frustrated. That is basically it. And when I'm playing casually on the elite division, when I'm seeing someone fidget spin, there's only so far. Like you can see that's the example of the jockey playstyle. You see the recovery. Sorry, just a jockey. Sorry, you see the recovery that what you can do, which before the patch you might have fully extended. So I think that is where you're going to see the difference. But yeah, as I was saying, I think it's for those in the elite division, you'll know what I'm talking about. although the gameplay hasn't changed, you're seeing a lot more fidget spinners. We don't want that. The casual players are getting upset because now they can't get through, so they're resorting more on headers, and they're doing more abusive mechanics and player locks and stuff like that. So that's trying to say people don't understand. It's not what the patch affects directly, is what's being affected indirectly. But I would say the jockey's really, really good. If you've got a jockey playstyle, even better. But I would say technically, indirectly, I said there was no need for a double nerf, but I would say you can be slightly more aggressive. When I mean aggressive, I don't mean you can run out with just center backs and get away with it, but I mean like if you want to try and get the ball, you can do. But I feel like you need the intercept playstyle. So that's why for most of my defenders, as I mentioned, look, there should have been some sort of patch where they changed intercept playstyle. They should have at least made it where, like, if I manually run, like, let's say it's like a through ball, like I want to show you an example, like here. Let's say that I'm trying to defend the situation here and I man mark that area. There should be some element where I can at least defend that situation. I know obviously I was trying to show you that in real time while the game is going on, but I was trying to show you that if I was closing the gap, maybe if I was a bit closer, ball going through the feet. Is that scripting at EA? That was a joke. That was a joke. That's an animation issue. But like I was saying, if you are near the ball, I feel like if the ball is going around, like near you, and you're close to the ball, I feel like you should intercept the ball. I think right now the manual radius of when you're manually a user control player tries to jockey, I feel like it's too far. Because like when you're trying to defend, like here, if I go up close like this, or I try to defend like a normal shot, most of the time I'm not going to be in that situation to defend that situation in the first place. Although jockey helps it a little bit, but even if I get close, a lofted through ball, or a lofted pass, should I say, can very easily get past. So that's what I'm trying to say. Indirectly, is going to promote players to be more passive this patch now, and you're going to see a lot more counter attack. So as I mentioned, it's not the direct thing. It's like formations and tactics. There'll be some minor changes which we'll go over. But let's say, for example, like here, let's say there's a pass into the middle. I'm trying to cut that. Let's say like the through ball. I'm trying to cut that lane out. Let's see that there. Now let me ask you that question. How far was I off there? I'm not too sure. Let's actually go and have a look back. Let's have a quick look here. Let's have a quick look at the last 15 seconds, right? So we're going to go back here, ignore the controller because it's done on a replay. But you can see, for example, like here. Now, in this situation, I didn't overextend. I think I read it fairly well. Now, the question is, maybe you can argue maybe this is a 50-50. But could you argue a user-controlled player, if you guess the right thing, you should get the ball in that situation? And this is what I'm trying to say. They need to fix interceptions. There's still, like, I think there was someone on Reddit when I made a post, for example, about R1 control sprint, and this user were like, "Oh, you're not talking about kickoffs." Of course, I know those are issues inside the game. I'm specifically talking about, they should buff kickoff. They should nerf kickoff even more. Corner glitches, overhead kicks, press. There's so many issues that I talked about that they need to fix inside the game. Obviously, I was just exclusively talking about R1 dribbling, but I feel like it's some people they just don't read. But anyway, that's another topic altogether. In case you're wondering about, just quickly about the patch, remember, you can always type in neal.to, so like literally here. So I'm just going to show you, for example, like here. You can just type in neal.to/patch. And just type that in your browser. It's a short link. I made it, so it'll take you to the EA's patch. In case you're wondering, ever need to know the patch notes quickly. There's a live tuning update, but it's only affecting authentic gameplay, so don't worry about that. So that at 1 o'clock this morning. But you can see if we go to the particular jockey one, they've a slight increase. I think maybe for players that are jockey playstyle, you might notice it a bit more. And I would say the responsiveness, I would say, is mainly to do with transitions. Okay, now in terms of the animations with stand tackling, I think I've played about 30 games. Since the patch has come out, about 30 games. I think about 7 of those were in the league division on my main account where I had to really test things out. But I don't think I found like any significant difference. I mean, people are saying, "Oh, there's a great difference and you can notice it." I don't think there is. I mean, like with the jockeying, I feel like it depends on how, like, so like here with Mariona, right? You see like this, it's not like a leeway where like you can say I can't just get away with murder, basically. I can't just do anything. But you're going to start seeing like stuff like these first time through balls a lot more. I would say what my best advice is, you're probably going to see it more often, is just run back as you normally would. And although my teammate contain is another button, but you can use teammate contain, for example, in these areas and kind of get away with it. is what I'm saying. You can kind of get away with a bit more. My teammate contain button is circle. My tackle button is X. In case you're wondering. But you see like what my opponent is doing now, right? Just doing like these needless nonsense inside the box. But you see, for example, when a player is normally 1-0 down, they don't do this that much. It's only when they're in a winning state. Like, do you remember my opponent never did this in the first couple of minutes? And these are just something you just got to bear in mind. This is what I'm trying to say. You know, like the patch, right? You got to think about in terms of dribbling. You're going to see a lot more people holding the ball. Now, the problem is also indirectly is holding the ball is a big issue because it's very hard to press the ball. Because like from a defensive stance, is it's very hard to be aggressive. And from an attacking stance, if someone is holding the ball, I'm going to give you a quick example. So I'm just going to try to press this play. Okay, maybe not the best of players, but if someone took a touch away and they passed the ball backwards, it's almost very difficult to get the ball. By the way, they need to fix these corner glitches. That's another thing altogether. And we'll come back to that another day in terms of the corner glitches. But yeah, you can still use, look, Pino, look, I think this is a very good year because in terms of like players that the choice, in terms of corners, in terms of the player positions, I've still had a corner glitch scored against me. So I'm not going to say it's been fixed. I think they just, I feel like, I'll be honest, I've not tested 100%. I've been mainly focusing on defending as opposed to corners. But you can see like here, right? It's going to promote more fidget spinning from these people. And let's say someone wants to defend. Stuck here. If someone wants to defend, of course not defend like me in that situation. But if you were to defend and you were to play the game, you would probably get a bit more frustrated. But you can see, for example, like that, the more you rush out, the more aggressive you play and the more you try to be, try to get the ball is what I would say, the more you're going to go into that situation where I'm going to get frustrated. So the truth is you just got to play slow. Even like when you're building up, if you're building up, you just got to play, like let go of that run button. And I feel like without the R1 dribbling, you can't really drive into space, which otherwise you could have. And I feel like that's why, although you're seeing less score lines, it's like I can still fidget spin. You see that? I can still fidget spin like that, but I feel like on the Division 10 to Division 3, you're seeing much less goals. So people are saying, oh, the patch is good because you can concede less goals or whatever, and you don't want football score lines. So, to be honest, I've not got an issue with winning or losing a game 9-7. I'd much rather have fun. If I wanted to go play an authentic game, I would go play kickoff and pass the ball. You have 12 minutes to play, whatever it is to play a game. Of course, you can't just hold the ball the entire time. But they have definitely reduced it. The reason why it was 9-6, people keep talking about the pro games. I think kickoff has been reduced significantly in certain situations, but it's still possible. Like kickoff is still there. Like you can see, look here, I'm technically, did a ball go out? I think it might have, but I'm still technically playing on from kickoff. But you can see, look here, my opponent is using a 4-5-1, I think. So you're going to see a lot more of, I think using a 4-5-1, maybe. I don't know, have a quick look. But you're going to see much more of these passive styles, passive formations, passive tactics as well. So like if I was to defend, you can still use teammate contain, and I'm being slightly more aggressive in those regions. This is a bad example of my opponent, not really the best of players here. Doing the offside trap and stuff, but it's not really like a top tier player where I can see like here, just basic mistakes being made here. Player lock is still going to be, I think like right now, if you're struggling to get through, I think player lock is like one of the best things that you can do. Like just do a simple player lock. Even if you need to get the ball in the wider areas, then if you're at that level, we're using precision shooting. But like have a look now. Do you see, for example, what I mean? But like it's just promoting a deeper line. Do you see that? Like it's a 4-5-1 here. Look, now I got to break. Let's just say I'm a casual player. Like for me, it's fine, right? But let's say I'm a casual player. Imagine trying to break down this line basically of a 4-5-1. And now you had R1 control sprint, which at least gave us a reason to use it. I'm not saying that it wasn't overpowered. I think, yes, in some ways it was very much overpowered. But I feel like it gave us some sort of, not reasoning, but some sort of like area to kind of go in and drive through. As I said, I can fidget spin with Pina. The issue is not someone like myself or someone on the elite division. But can you see, for example, like here, if someone is not doing those left stick movements like how I am, and don't forget, most players don't really know how to dribble. Although they think they know how to dribble, most of them actually don't. So if you think about it, when it comes to when push comes to shove per se, you could argue it's going to promote more of a defensive style more than anything. And I feel like that is the big worry that I have with this patch. As I said, there's a lot of indirect things that it does. And for example, a player like this, I'm actually quite good in the attack. This is in Division 3 or whatever this is in on this account. But this player, for example, not necessarily a bad player by any means. Actually pretty decent, you could argue in some ways. You can see an attacker knows how to go forward, but you can see he's just going to promote more of a passive game. Now, would I rather concede, let's say, I don't know, 5 goals per game and it not be part of the bus fest? Yes, I would rather concede 5 goals. And I think people need to get out of that, oh, it's got to be realistic. Guys, it's a video game. If it's realistic, then we won't have, we'll have like just fixed teams, like one player versus another team and stuff like that. You know what I mean? It's not, guys, you got to get out of this element. But like, here, look, see what I mean? Like being like this, like I got away with that one because of the paces of Benai. But you see, like here, we get the ball away and he's played a through ball. Play a through ball, please. But like here, just like here, you still can't push too much. See that? You still can't push too much with a left analog stick aimlessly. Do you see what I'm trying to say? Okay, I just wanted to go back. Someone wanted to show you here. This is what I meant by you're going to see more of these defensive lines. And I think for someone like myself that's trying to get through, it's a bit easier. Of course, I can just fidget spin here and you can see my opponent. Look, of course, normally I would play the through ball here and just score that goal. But I just wanted to show you an example. I was trying to force the fidget spinning here. And look, the player wasn't the best of players, but had I been up against someone that's competent, that would have been a first time through ball. We even explained how to use this on a Patreon series, but I want to explain to you how this will become the meta. And you can see, look, if you want to be aggressive, you need to know when to run back. Okay, so like, let's say, for example, you're like here. The only reason I got away with this is because I knew that Benai, the pace in behind, and I knew that if the ball comes near to me, I can't win it. Okay, I knew that when the ball comes near to me, it's only because I knew when to run back, how to run back, what player the pace had in behind, and then I was able to do a slide tackle to get the extra distance. But most people don't defend like that. And I wanted to show you again when I gave the ball away here. So I wanted my opponent to like a through ball, but I wanted to show you that if you're near the region, you cannot be aggressive, even if you know that you know what your opponent's going to do. So I show you, for example, like, I know he's going to do a McGeady spin. So in my head, I'm thinking, okay, I know he's going to do a McGeady spin. Let me go ahead and get the ball. But you can see, even if you try to guess and you know what's going to happen, there's no guarantee you're going to get the ball here, is what I wanted to show you. So it's very, very important that you understand those things from a defensive hand. If you want to learn some more of those defending mechanics, like how to defend, when to run back, or maybe you're struggling with defending right now, even after the patch, you can check out my FC26 school. We've got all the defending videos. They all apply. They've all been made before, but they're not the fundamentals of defending, but they explain to you, for example, how to defend, how to position your player to block the angle towards goal, not to win the ball back. When you're defending, it's a complete different logic. You know, how to use teammate contain, how to apply pressure, how to run back, how to position your players. Everything is in my FC26 school. And if you want to know, for example, how to do meta mechanics at the first time through a ball, stuff like that, we've got loads of those videos. And we have the 3 best ways of scoring right now: the easy way to break lines, the through ball, and of course the first time shots that all the top tier players are using now on the elite levels. So maybe you're like Division 4 and you really want to push your game to the next level, we will guarantee you'll get better. If you don't, we'll refund your money. That's a nil guys guarantee. If you don't get better after 1 month, we will refund your money. That's a nil guys guarantee. Anyway guys, thanks for watching. Take it easy. Links down in the description, and I'll catch you next time. Peace out.